We're here today on the momentous occasion of the return of the Giant Galliwasp to Jamaica. A Giant Galliwasp is a lizard that is endemic to Jamaica, so it only lives there, but it's believed to be extinct since the middle of the 19th century. And through historical coincidence, there's not a single specimen of this Giant Galliwasp left in Jamaica. And due to the University of Glasgow's and the University of West Indies' long-standing relationship, we had an excellent framework to collaborate with our colleagues from the West Indies on the repatriation of this specimen.
My part in the story of the Galliwasp specimen started in this room. In August 2021, only a few months after I just started this job, I was going through the specimens just to familiarise myself with the collection, and came across a large lizard in a jar that was mentioned as being from Jamaica. The name was Celestus occiduus, the scientific name. The jar itself, the seal, was a little bit worn, so I decided to take the specimen out, replace the seal, and whilst I was doing that I took a photograph, and it happened to be International Lizard Day. So I tweeted about it, but stored away in the back of my head that this was a very interesting specimen and one that I wanted to use in some way, in some display, rather than having it just sitting on a shelf for another 50 years. That opportunity came up with the Curating Discomfort program, which just in December 21 involved selecting specimens from the collection to present to a group of community curators, and one of them selected it to go on display and wrote a label about it, looking at how this species of lizard has gone extinct largely because of a sort of colonialism, plantation culture in Jamaica, which has resulted in loss of habitat, invasive species, and all the problems connected with that. And then wonderfully it went out the store and ended up going on display in the main museum. But then I thought, I actually want something more to happen to this. What happens next? Will it just go back in the store again?
I'm here as part of the delegation that's working on the repatriation of the Giant Jamaican Galliwasp. We're really very excited about this. It's the first natural history specimen that has been repatriated to the Caribbean. The Giant Jamaican Galliwasp is the largest endemic lizard in Jamaica. It's believed to have been extinct possibly around the 1850s. We know that it entered the Andersonian collection sometime about in the 1850s, which means that it's lived in Glasgow for 170 years. But it's an adult lizard. We actually don't know the lifespan of giant galliwasps because it's been extinct for so long. So we suspect it could be much older, probably 180, 175. We can't be sure.
The research I'd been doing for the project showed that examples of this Jamaican giant galliwasp were in collections in other parts of Scotland and the rest of the UK, throughout Europe, in North America, but as far as I could find out, there were none in Jamaica itself. The specimens there had been lost in past earthquakes and fires, and because this lizard was now extinct, there wasn't any possibility to collect new ones. And so I reached out to a colleague at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Shani Roper, just asking if they'd like a galliwasp. And very quickly she came back with a positive response, and very quickly this involved getting members of the Institute of Jamaica, the Natural History Museum there involved, and everyone was very excited about the possibility of finally getting their hands on a specimen that they could then put on display in the main National Natural History Museum and start telling the tale again of the Galliwasp.
This is really a transformational moment. The National Collection relied on the sketch that was done by Hans Sloane when he came to Jamaica in the 17th century. So the fact that we're able to get a specimen, that sketch was never done to scale, so now that we're actually seeing a specimen, we now have a sense of what a galliwasp really looks like, and most of the scientists have never seen one unless they've been to the United Kingdom. The delegation includes 3 of us from the University of the West Indies and 2 colleagues from the Natural History Museum of Jamaica. The project is happening under the University of the West Indies, University of Glasgow MOU, which was signed in 2019, and it allows for the transfer of ownership of the specimen from University of Glasgow to the University of the West Indies. We're taking the opportunity to have the specimen placed in the National Flora and Fauna Collection of Jamaica. So its home will be the Natural History Museum of Jamaica.
You look at other Celestus in the region or other giant Galliwasps in the family, you know, like in Hispaniola or Montserrat, and you wonder, you know, what did ours look like? Did it look a lot like that? You know, you're reading text, you're seeing descriptions, but you still don't get the experience of looking at one firsthand. And for me, that is where Celeste comes in. It's a major thing for me, and I think a lot of herpetologists and other persons interested in Jamaican wildlife, because they have the opportunity now to come to the Institute and see it. So it adds to the theory. It's like, you know, you're always reading about dinosaurs or you're reading about something and saying, oh, this is how big it is, these are the dimensions. When you actually see something and you can see how chunky it is, you know, how, I want to say, the musculature, how muscular it looks, the shape of the head, you get to appreciate it better.
In Jamaica, most people grow up hearing that reptiles are bad, reptiles are scary, and a few of us who love it. So, you know, people kind of look on it very weird that we love reptiles. Now, in the case of the Galliwasp, we have 10 species here. All of them are endemic. Now, what does it mean to the people of Jamaica? We got mixed reactions. So I put a lot of the information about it coming back on social media. Some people thought that the specimen, when they brought it back, would it was alive, and you know the folklore still go around and say, boy, if it sting you. So we had to come out and tell people, say, boy, it's not gonna sting you. It has been dead, what, more than 100 years ago, and it has a value. So one of the positive things when they come in on the island is that we're having a lot of conversation. Some people might see some looking at it negative or positive, the conversation start. So before it came back, we would not be talking about Galliwasp, it would not be on primetime TV, you'd not having radio interviews, you would not seen it in the Gleaner, you would not seen it in the international media. So that's positive.
Before Celeste got back to Jamaica, just the story of the Jamaicans heading over to Scotland to retrieve it stirred a lot of commentary. And even the return stirred even more commentary, because unfortunately the Galliwasps are understudied and underrepresented actually in Jamaica's common knowledge. So there are a lot of misconceptions. So it allowed us to have that dialogue and conversation to introduce more people to not just Galliwasp, not just the giant Galliwasp, not just Celeste, but conservation, herpetology as a whole.
Galliwasp is like a bees thing. I've heard the name Galliwasp before, but I've never seen something like that. That's in Jamaica? Galliwasp? Oh, no. That's a Galliwasp. Oh.
People start asking questions. They thought all Galliwasp was the same. And from the scientific community, we got a lot of information. For example, people call the small one, like Celestus crusculus. Some people call it snake boy. And then you have the bigger one, some people call that now, says Galliwasp. So already they are differentiating that you have more than one species. We weren't aware of that. Additional information that we're getting is other areas where people are saying that they have seen large. Now when you get from social media, large is relative. But we start getting good information where people are showing pictures and telling us where to find it. Now I might say some people say, boy, we couldn't get something more than just a Galliwasp for repatriation. Some people were saying we should get back some gold or whatever. But this is the first. We have a lot of conversation.
It's a form of a beast. With a long tail. It looked like a lizard. A Galliwasp is exactly a lizard.
Isn't that like this lizard or like it's from the reptile family, and I think it's up in the Blue Mountains, and persons say if it bites you and if it gets to the water before you, something's gonna happen. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, that is.
The Institute of Jamaica holds as its mandate the encouragement of literature, science, and the arts. Our presence here today to formalize this agreement between the University of the West Indies, Mona, and the Institute of Jamaica for the display and study of the Jamaican Giant Galliwasp specimen is testament to the fact that these are not just mere buzzwords. They reflect a steadfast commitment to the preservation, conservation, and promotion of our tangible and intangible heritage. The Institute of Jamaica and the University of the West Indies share a long and storied history of collaboration on matters of profound historical and scientific significance. Our researchers and scientists have long worked side by side, united by a common goal to uncover and illuminate the truths of our island's evolution, enriching our collective understanding of Jamaica's past. Having Celeste as a specimen has been fondly named in our national collection represents another meaningful step in fulfilling our duty to safeguard the richness of our past, held in trust for the future.
So for us, having the opportunity to be able to interact with Celeste from a creative perspective is particularly heartwarming for the fact that here we have an artifact, right, that we can reference. It's a critical part of our folklore. We would have experienced even the smaller ones in our childhood. So for us, it's a critical juncture where science and art meet in the space of academia and creativity.
Myths and traditions abound regarding the Galliwasp. Among them, the belief that if one bites you and reaches water before you do, death is certain. I believe that with all my heart when I was growing up. The presence of this specimen offers a tangible link to our oral traditions and to the stories that make our heritage so rich, complex, and vibrant. It is therefore my duty and my pleasure to express sincere gratitude to the scientists, researchers, diplomats, and all those whose efforts have made the repatriation of Celeste to Jamaica possible. May we continue to pursue opportunities to share, recover, and reclaim the historical artifacts of our island, whether through digitization or physical return, ensuring they are preserved for generations to come.
We can have this recreated using ceramics, using clay to replicate and to educate. So this would be something at that point that individuals can touch, just to get a sense of how it would lie in your hands as something that large. For the size of Celeste, she's about 3 or 4 times the size of a regular Galliwasp that we would see, common Galliwasp that we would see now. I can see stories being written about this Galliwasp, so therefore you're going to engage the illustrators, you're going to engage the writers, you're going to engage even those who can craft songs about the Galliwasp. You can actually mimic its movement through dance, and it's something that students across all schools, all levels, should be introduced to know that, hey, we do have something that is unique to Jamaica that has been returned to us. Yes, and that is a part of our history, our biodiversity, our natural heritage, and critical to being at home in the space where it belongs.